Hey hotties, have you been missing new Process Party episodes and want more behind the scenes scoops?
It's all over on our Patreon. Our loyal hotties get exclusive episodes, live workshops, and our best unedited and unfiltered conversations for just $10 a month.
And if that's not enough, it's super easy to subscribe and there's no long-term commitment.
Learn more and subscribe at patreon.com/HYDC.
Welcome to the Hot Young Designers Club podcast.
I'm Rebecca Plum, your big sister.
And I'm Shaun Surha, your GBF.
We're not that hot or that young,
but we believe it's a state of mind that helps us build adaptable and profitable businesses.
We rely on the support of our design besties to get through each day.
So let's explore the emotional, practical, and humorous sides of being interior designers.
Welcome to the club. Hey, Shaun.
What's up, Rebecca?
I love these episodes where we get to answer things. Like we're smart.
Because half the work has been done for us, kind of.
Totally. Thank you, everybody who gave us ideas.
Yes.
So, do you want to do a little housekeeping?
Yeah, before we jump into the meat and potatoes and a little hors d'oeuvre aperitif.
So, this is a little late because at the time of recording stuff, but we are going to the big show this fall.
The big show. The big house. Now, we're going to High Point this fall.
Which we haven't been in a year. So it's like we're kind of on our annual fall schedule.
I mean, it seems to be a pattern that works really well for us because...
I'm not sure it works really well for me.
Not this year.
No, I'm going like on a vacation. I land back in Sacramento and then get on another plane like 4 hours later in the middle of the night. Hopefully, if all goes well.
If all goes according to plan, yeah. You'll be back to back.
But it's worth it.
Nuts to butts, as Rebecca likes to say. Nuts to butts.
Especially when it's fun. I just have to make it work.
We're just going to block out some extra time, block some dates in the calendar availability leading up to and after. So that way you're not at your wit's end by the time you...
There's literally no way I'm not going to be at wit's end, but it's okay.
I'm going to I want to go into your calendar and block half of all your availability just so you have extra stuff for those last minute things that come up. But
okay.
I want to do that.
I mean, you can block it.
But you won't respect it as time draws near. You'll be like, sure, have that date. Okay, yeah, I'll do an appointment on that.
I'll try not to do appointments for sure. But there's still going to be stuff to be gone for 2 weeks is
it's a lot.
As we all know, it's hard.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to be and I'll be pretty gone. So.
But the market side of it is for us a relatively quick trip because we get there it's markets from the October 26th to the 30th this year. And we get in on the Friday, which is the 25th.
Yeah.
And so we get in on Friday, which is our whole travel day. So we won't really be doing much other than traveling for us that day.
Going to Cracker Barrel.
Going to our annual...
we got to hit up the CB.
Our annual pilgrimage to Cracker Barrel when we land. And then on Saturday, Sunday, we'll be at market. Monday's the day we leave. So we may or may not get to hit some stuff on that day, but we've got enough time that we're going to be there. Hotties, we don't have anything planned yet as of when you're hearing this. So stay tuned on Instagram, our newsletter, stuff like that. We'll let you know if we plan any events or get-togethers or tours. We haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, we're making room for one official thing, some kind of meetup, even if it's unofficially official.
Join us for drinks.
Yeah.
We're going to crash another showroom.
Join us at Cracker Barrel. We'll be posted up as everyone tries to close around us.
Come get your sweet tea and enjoy.
I'm excited. I always love being there.
And we're leaving time so we can enjoy. Last year we were booked and busy so much that we didn't really get to stay and enjoy the craziness that was the Four Hands party. So we're making more room for that.
Oh yeah. We better be on the invite list again. And yeah.
They better bring it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
We always bring it. Amber Lewis now will be there. No, I don't know. Probably not.
Maybe. We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know what kind of design celebrities will be there. We're going to find out.
And yeah, so thank you, everyone. I don't know. We just have to say thank you to everyone who's supported us, supporting us in the shop. Totally helps us keep this going. We're a few months in now on our shop relaunch.
Yeah.
Shop.hotyoungdesignersclub.com. And it was a lot of effort to get us there. So thank you. Hope it's been smooth.
For the most part, we honestly, on the tech side of things, like this is what I want the designers, the hotties who are listening to know. We're the ones looking at, if you email us a question about a product, or if you like something happens with something and you're like, wait, my coupon code didn't work. Like, we're the ones who see that. Like, this is our business. So in the same way that you're all responsive, you are the we to your clients. We're the we to all of you. Like,
unfortunately, not a customer service center, call center yet.
So we're the ones who, because we know so much about our products, how they're designed, how they work, how the templates do things, how all of the like Google Sheets of it all works. So we really try to make sure that you get the right answers about what's right for your business. And some of you will even occasionally DM us about stuff that's in the shop. So thank you for being curious. Thank you for asking. Thank you for supporting designers just like you.
And if you've enjoyed anything that you have purchased, we would love to have reviews in the shop because that helps other designers.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then you can do it on the same page where you went to shop it. There's a little review section that you can put in your own special thoughts for us. We would love to have that.
Thoughts and prayers.
Sorrows, prayers.
Okay. Should we get into the show?
Yes. The AMA of it all. Ask us anything.
So we put out quite a few bat signals asking for your questions. So thank you to everyone who did. We're going to roll through a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And we've prepared no answers. So you're going to get some live gut reactions from us.
Live reactions. Live confusion.
Okay. Want to start?
Yeah, I'll read the first one. Okay, here we are. Hi, I loved your show about how to attract leads and clients without Insta, parenthesis over it. Would love another episode on this topic. And I'm in the first 2 years of business and marketing is my biggest challenge. So far, old school methods like school auction donations and printing a brochure have yielded the best results.
Oh, that's interesting that the school auctions work for you. So my first
question. That's not been our experience.
No, well, it's been mixed. So my first answer is in May, we did our Hottie Hangout on this topic. And that's, if you are a Patreon member, a loyal Hottie, you can go back and listen to that. It's a lot of ideas. It's from all different designers popped in with some thoughts and ideas. So it was actually a good one.
Oh, we got a lot of stuff in there. There was some
and we
really
did debate the school auction thing.
It was heated, not heated.
No, it wasn't controversial at all. But it just depends on your school, on your involvement. So, okay. So
if you're hearing that and you want to go back to that episode that Hottie's referring to, it's episode 83 is how acquiring clients without Instagram. I generally have just felt like I haven't had to do like what I call like marketing, so to speak. Like it's mostly showing up, being on stories, letting people get to know me, sharing work. Like blogging is not, I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's like a lighter lift than trying to come up with some complex marketing program. Like,
yeah, I think things like our episode about SEO, that one is a good one because some of these are just passive things that you actively have to do the work, but then they passively help you.
Yeah.
So Evan had some really good tips on that. What episode was that?
121, just before this one.
Oh, that was convenient. Last episode. And I just honestly, kind of what you're already saying, I think the more you show up in real life in your community, the more people will want to hire you, and people like to work with people they like and know. So I think doing that, whether it's Facebook community groups, schools, like hang out in rich neighborhoods, if that's what your prime client is.
Go to events in those communities as much as I know we also talked about that in the May Hottie Hangout, that you have to be present. Like part of us marketing ourselves isn't look at the pretty house. It's look at the person who will help you get the pretty house and like trust them, know them, get comfortable with us, like build your credibility in your community.
And talk
And
about what you do a lot, kind of like everywhere you go. If you
yes,
really are looking for more business, it's partly a little woo woo, put it out in the universe, like manifest. Like when you say it, it
true.
is more likely to come. But also, you don't know who you're talking to all the time may have just, oh, my mom's looking for an interior designer, or
Exactly.
they're going to mention it next week when somebody brings it up to them. So just kind of got to be active. And if you're shy, I get it. You got
It's
to get over. You
harder.
kind of
It's
got to get over it,
harder.
though.
I know. We
And
are our
then
own best marketer.
we are, because we're the ones that they're gonna be relying on, and
Right.
and also I know like this specifically was about avoiding Instagram, but just the more of yourself that you can put into your Instagram when you do it, I think it helps people see the full person. So talking about your service, what you offer, but also like bring some personality into it. Have a niche, like, I don't know,
All
be as
that.
specific as you can.
Yes. We always joke about like every time we say something, people respond. And it's like, that's marketing is you
Yeah.
just have to you have to say it way more times than you think. You have to bring it up way more times than you think. You have to constantly remind people because I'm sorry, I barely remember if I like met one person one time, you're lucky if I even remember their first name, let alone their last name, let
But
alone
not
anything about their family or like, so people will not remember everything about us either when we
first
talk about
time.
what we do, the types of homes we do, the style we do. Like there has to be so much exposure and repetition to it that people will really sort of sink in on it. So just know that it takes a lot of repetition to
And it
get
just
that.
I mean, honestly, it's just a lot of angles and it is a lot of work, but talk a lot about planting a seed, like the seed you plant today by talking about something. You don't know when it might sprout because
Yes.
this person that you told, I run into people a lot, like when I see people in my community that say someday when I get my own house, like I can't wait to hire you. And I love that. That's like really sweet. And who knows if they would actually hire me when they get there, but
Sure.
maybe they will. And they're just not in that place today. But in a few years, life
Hmm.
changes. So it's a long game. It is.
Yeah. You're not going to get the people who just show up saying, oh my God, help me spend $200,000 right now. Like,
Yeah. Oh, I had an
I
extra
just got it. Yeah.
$1 million lying around. I was wondering who I was going to work
Oh,
with.
I didn't know
Sometimes
who I
that
was going to
happens,
hand this to.
as well as press as much as you can, like get out of, if you have a project that you think is press worthy. I am going to be the first to say, like, I tout this. We talk about it on the show, but it still was hard for me to pitch Rue Magazine when I had a project that I thought they might want.
Yeah.
And it just happened to me last month. So, but when it did go live, I got a lot of attention from it, but I think I got a couple leads from it. I don't know specifically. I'm still in the middle of it, but I do think it just kind of turned some things up because it related to this house was similar to like one project lead that I got.
It feels like fresh and current and it gets people's ideas moving.
And they're like, oh, that's what my house kind of looks like.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So just basically our answer is just do all the things. Maybe Instagram sounds better now.
Oh man, but yeah, you still got to do stuff there too. So
Little bit.
but it pays. Every time I keep doubling my efforts on stuff or spending more time on something, people respond. Like
They do.
I don't need a ton of people. You just need a few of the people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. The next question is actually pretty similar.
Okay.
So I'm going to skip that. So when you were starting out, did you hire a business coach or did you just wing it? If you did not hire one, what made you just go for it? And if you did, would they give you clarity on and do you think you could have figured out without their help?
I didn't hire anybody.
You didn't, right? I didn't either. So wing it.
I mean, wing it, but also
do your research.
Like I was like, I don't we've talked about this stuff before, but like as a really big podcast listener, like all the time listening to design podcasts, hearing about other designers and how they run their business, constantly reading blog posts by other people, and like changing my lens when I look at Instagram stories, because I do feel like a lot of designers kind of let you in on what they're doing. That if you were like a customer or a potential client of theirs or just a homeowner, you're probably picking up different things from them than the stuff they share about how their business runs. So when when you have that filter on when you're watching other designers, you pick up on different things, you know?
Oh yeah, like, oh, that's what their presentation looks like, or
Yeah. Or like, oh, that's a different system. I wonder what system that is. And you start looking at different softwares. But
and you can ask. Sometimes they'll answer you. Sometimes they'll get pissed off and go on a tirade. But
yeah. What did I figure out without their help? Like, I feel I have had a shorter on ramp if I
Oh.
had a coach? Absolutely. Like my fee structure could have been better. I probably would have gotten some better contractual terms and boundaries in place faster. But I also appreciate the lessons I learned from those. I'm not saying go the hard way just because of lessons, but there's definitely stuff that I could have sped up on profitability,
Confidence.
markup. Yeah, just like knowing I could do it, the better rates, better fee structure. Like a lot of that stuff could have gone much faster if I had just like done a virtual consult with another designer I respected and asked them questions, or like actually got a coach to meet with me, even if it wasn't like a long-term program. I feel like getting some sounding board advice would have been really helpful early on to speed up the process.
Totally. I mean, I was building the plane in the air for sure.
Hmm.
And basically, it was telling the world I was doing this and then getting leads and every step of the process, building it as I went, building every document, figuring out every contract. I iterated a lot and I still do, but
Yeah, you could do multiple versions of everything.
I am an iterator by nature though. So if I had had a coach, it wasn't really an option for me, but if it's in your like financial ability to afford any, I think it will shorten. Like, I don't know what this person's experience level is. Are they working in another firm right now? Are they in school? Have they done zero interior
Hmm.
design before and don't know really anything about it? Like, kind of like I started, like, then your on ramp's going to look different. I honestly still feel like I'm on my on ramp.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Or maybe I fly and then I come back down. Like, I don't know. I keep taking like, oh, I'm going to come back and build this again and then take off again. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like oh man, I feel like this is probably the problem. Like I'm on an on-ramp, but I keep going to a different freeway. If that like
Maybe it's
I'm
more like
I'm
a
like
F1.
transitioning. Like
Maybe it's more of an F1 and we keep like making pit stops and the crew's like
you do
switching
another
out
lap. Yeah.
tires. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like each season you come back and you have a rebuilt engine so you could do better that season, or you get a better
Mm.
sponsor so you get an upgraded vehicle.
Yeah.
Like so that's
Look at
sort
us
of
with our sports metaphors we know nothing about.
but I feel like I'm never done making my business better. And I've never have said, oh, this is perfect exactly as it is. And we're going to
Got
leave
this.
it the way it is. Like I probably could have invested in a coach when I first started. It was just that for me, I'm a very skeptical person anyway. So I always have trouble believing a lot of coach language to me it feels like very MLM like to me. Like
Yeah. I mean, you
it's
don't
kind of
know until you invest if it's the thing that
right.
you're expecting. So.
And I didn't have any other designers that I was close with at that time to say, here's a coach that I actually have worked with, and I can give you the confidence that this is like a very solid reference and they're worth it and they will help you. I didn't have any of that at the time. I feel like
Right.
the environment is probably different now than it was when I was doing this in 2017.
And there's definitely some coaches that have like kind of programs and systems. So you get that when you sign up for them,
Yeah.
which I think would be really helpful. I would probably consider doing that if you have no documentation, no language for things. You don't have a contract. Like if that's something that you get as an added value with those coaches, I think that would be really helpful and would get you like polished and ready very quickly.
I think so too.
And
I
then
agree
as
with
you
that.
get experience, you can make it your own. So, which is what I did, but I just pulled stuff off of Facebook groups and blogs and podcasts. So a little more of
an organized approach. Yeah. Like we didn't know what we needed until we needed it. And that's also a reason why now we have stuff in our shop too, is because we were like, someone needs this because we needed it.
Yeah.
And now we made it. But in general, that idea, like, could I have figured out stuff without their help? Yeah, we figured out a lot. But the whole, what made us go for it? Go back to, like, why did we decide to do it? Probably go back to episode 111. We did that episode for the newbies, and it was all about stuff we wish we knew when we started. But we've had several episodes, even all the way back to episode 1, like meeting us and sharing our stories about why we jumped in. And those are some really early and raw reflections to go back to, like how it all got its start and why we decided to push into our businesses. We didn't have a plan.
And just as a caveat, like I feel like caveat culture is a little extreme right now, but I will say this is our experiences. You have a different set of skills and tools already in your backpack. Like, do what feels right for you. So if you feel like you need a coach, hire a coach. Just find one that fits for you. Shaun felt like he needed school because he likes to know the rules and the processes, and it really helped him, and it's helping him now. I'm kind of a jump in and figure it out. I took some school, but I didn't have a finished program. So we're all different.
Do different things.
Do you?
Absolutely. Should do our next one here.
Okay.
Oh, this is what are your top tips for transitioning from buying retail for projects to developing vendor relationships and shopping wholesale? And if you're willing to name names, what are your favorite vendors that kind of do it all to start with? The number of vendors out there is overwhelming. Girl, agreed.
Okay. This is like one of those that I feel like some of those hyphy Facebook group people will be like, well, I don't know your client's budget.
Oh God, I know. Yeah. What kind of designer are you?
You didn't give us any information.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Maybe tell us where you are. Like some of them are so mean. Like
so mean, which is not what we're saying. Okay. I love this because this is my favorite thing to do is encourage designers to purchase wholesale.
Right.
Because like we said in our one of the last episodes, if you're not buying wholesale, you're not making money. Like I honestly don't understand. So one top tip is to try to see if you can befriend a designer who's doing it and develop some sort of relationship, whether it's a paid consulting thing, going back to coaching, or just like even hiring paying a designer for a consultation.
Yeah.
Is really helpful. I think some of it is you just have to kind of do it. First, go to market. If you can, try to go to a market.
Yes.
Even a small one.
Yeah. Even if you're like regionally closer to Atlanta or Dallas like,
or Vegas.
And honestly, even if they don't have a ton of home product, the wholesale purchasing process is pretty the same, even if it's like accessory or more like boutique based. The stores will talk to you about how, we have this pricing tier, or we have this minimum order, we have this thing. I mean, everybody, once you start realizing it, there are a lot of similarities in all of them. So I think for me, that was something that was intimidating, and I didn't need it to be. Now that I know better,
it is a little bit intimidating until you know the language.
Yeah.
But you just have to, this is really like you have to put your big girl pants on, and I'm assuming you're a girl. But be professional as a designer, because I'm sorry, but I just think if you primarily buy retail, you're not a fully professional designer. Is that a rude hot take? Like,
no, I just don't. I don't know if I would just call that decorating or not. I don't know. I just feel like that gives hobbyist vibes to be buying from like Crate and Barrel constantly for projects, or to only be recommending that. because I don't feel like I took my business seriously until I started seeing the revenue that I could earn for my business and the profit that was built in. Because why
Also,
was I just handing it all to like 18 retail stores for those first clients? And they were going to spend the same amount of money if I had had a better or comparable recommendation for those clients. They would have bought
and
it from me.
they would have bought it. They would have, I mean, it's a little bit more expensive for them to go this route, but we're offering them a service in exchange, as
Yeah.
well as more interesting items they haven't seen that their neighbors don't have. You're offering like another level of professional experience. So if you're willing to name names, what are your favorite vendors that do it all? This is though, like for reals, like we don't know your style or what kind of price point you're looking at. I'm assuming if you're buying retail, not super high.
Mhm.
I would look at forehands. They
Yeah.
don't do it all, but they do a lot, and it's good pricing. And the more you establish yourself with a vendor, the better your costs are going to become, which means your margins grow, you
Right.
make more profit, and you have more experience with the line. So
Agreed.
Moe's is another good one at a nice price point, similar to forehands,
Yeah.
but they're more like both of them are more modern. So that's where like we don't totally know stylistically.
Yeah, I don't know what your styles are. Hudson Valley Lighting Group has some
For
of
lighting.
every style of light, like regardless of what your
Yeah.
style is. They have a very, I like that because they have a number of brands within the group. There's like your budget price point with like Mitzi to all the way up to, $10,000 chandeliers. Like
And
they
they're
can
very
run the gamut.
and they're designer friendly. Your pricing's good. They don't change their pricing and account model every 6 months like some other
Like some other light brands.
companies
Yeah.
that are gorgeous but impossible to work with. So I don't name
Are
names.
very popular and almost every designer has used them and will
I
still
love
keep using
'em.
them.
But I can't get a goddamn account like I have
They make it
with
very
other
hard.
people.
Yeah.
So most brands, wholesale brands that you see at market are designer friendly. If they're smart, they're designer friendly. We'll open an account for you. And you'll get if it's a favorable company, you'll get 30 to 40% off MSRP.
And I feel like we leave this part out because we've learned it now, but the reps, just find one,
Oh, yeah.
just literally the first rep from one company will probably be a godsend most of them, their job is to try to get you to sell. They make commission off of you being able to sell. So you can ask them questions like, how much are people typically marking this up? What's a decent price point? Where should I be? Like, how do I get that? Like,
And they typically work in a region, so they know people in your area. What are other designers sending their stuff? Like they might have a receiver or a freight company if you need one. They should have recommendations for you.
yeah, I feel like local reps are really great for
Really
that
great.
because they already know that information. They've told other people already. They've maybe dealt with it themselves.
They're kind of like real estate agents. Like it's their job to hustle and help, like and connect.
And a lot of them, I feel like a fair handful of them have worked as designers
Yeah, that's true.
or
in
they
the
know
industry for a long time.
Yeah, or they've been around just so long, they've figured it out. So they understand what we're doing. So lean on your reps. If you're looking for places where you can sort of aggregate, but not have to go setting up accounts everywhere and get better discounts, purchasing agents are great.
Daniel House Club.
Daniel
past
House Club.
sponsor.
Yeah, like they're not paying us to say this right now, but they had ads on the show in the past.
But I'm a Daniel
they're-
House Club member and I have like some very strong accounts, but some, like we mentioned, certain lighting companies I can't get on my own.
Right.
And they are great. They have their own customer service team that are awesome. And then a lot of, the buying individual groups, there's a few of them that I tap into for different reasons.
I think there's great reasons to go through these other like designer purchasing groups or purchasing agents because they can help you keep track of the orders better. They're helpful when you're putting together the quotes if you've never done anything like that before. And it's one of the easiest ways to like get introduced to some of the vendors. And you can ask questions like, okay, why would I pick this line? Why not that one? I think there's great resources out there. I would just start with a project that has sort of low barriers to entry, maybe start like easing your way. Like When I first started, I did stuff with like lighting first. Like lighting was an easy, oh, okay, I can drop ship in some lighting. I don't have to send it to a receiver. They could go to my house still. Like I was able to sort of trickle in. I didn't just start right away with my like big receiving warehouse.
But I did have another skilled designer who really guided me, which was honestly key. Thank you, Victoria. I owe it all to you. And I went into the she's like, you have to have a receiver. Like you're not bringing this stuff to your house, and or some places won't even ship it to a residence, or you pay a lot extra if they do. So don't sleep on the receiver thing. Start doing research first on finding one.
Yeah.
If you're in a bigger area, there's going to be more options than I have in my area. For instance, get pricing, kind of get the lay of the land, start an account with them, ask them what the process is, because once you place an order, you got to hit the ground running with them. So don't be afraid of the receiver. They're not, they're just like doing a job. Like there's no, I don't know, emotions around it.
Yeah. They want you in there too, making them money. So they don't.
And to sell it, you have to just, again, with the big girl pants, be confident in the value of a receiver. There is a huge value, especially in the last 5 years. No, you don't have all this shit going to a client's house and they're inspecting it. They're hopefully flagging damages before the client sees it, and you can remedy things. It's a really big service, and it's just part of the cost of doing business with a designer for a client. Like they have to this is how it works. So,
this very normal stuff. I feel like it sounds a lot scarier than it is. So truly just start. Just pick one thing.
And once you make one sale to a client with this process, then you just gain confidence. You understand. Now now it's in my procurement guide, like shop.hotyoungdesignersclub.com. All of that language is written in there.
You're like how to do it.
Well, it's the guide that you will send your clients. So you will put your information in, but all the words are already there. Obviously, you can adjust anything you want, but that is what does the heavy lifting now for me. It's like clients just read it and like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because we wrote the client purchasing guide for the perspective of a client, but it's helpful if you're reading it as a designer who's never done it.
Yeah, I will train you.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, that's what we're going to do? Okay, that's what we're going to do. Like now I know how to explain it to someone, but I also understand it because it's like teachbacks. Like I feel like every profession does that. Like if you can teach it back to someone else, then it means you really understand it. So being able to have like a client purchasing guide means that you're going to have to teach it to your client, and it makes it that much easier for you to like stick to your process and know what to do because you have something so comprehensive to refer to. But without that, I sort of had to figure out all those individual steps one at a time and like build it into a process. I don't know. I feel like I feel
this.
like my
you
first couple of purchases, I did stuff for myself too. Like I bought some light fixtures for my house and like went through the process of like, I didn't actually mark it up for myself, but it's like, oh, okay, like what's that going to look like? How do I go through that process, finding the price, and like a case study for myself.
How do receivers track your stuff? That is a wide range.
That's worth experimenting with anytime. I've tried a few receivers, and I always, the first time I go to that different one, I send stuff that's like less risky. Like sending something from Forehands is easier because Forehands is very responsive on damages and replacements, and their process of inputting the claim is very easy through the site.
Yeah, they have a whole back end system.
So like they're, to me, an easier one to like send to a new receiver because I know that the vendor will be really responsive and available, and it's not always the same with every vendor. So just experiment. You got it.
Just do it. Okay.
Just do it.
Ooh, good one.
Okay, yeah. For your very first photo shoot, did you spend a lot of money to capture content for your website and or portfolio? I'm just starting out and trying to determine on if I should spend a lot of money on my client shoot. This was a project with a limited client budget.
My first question back is, would you like more of that project?
Before you start taking pictures and putting it out there?
Or expensive pictures. Like you take pictures, but there's definitely a range of investment. So
Yes.
if it's not a project you want more of, because like you mentioned, limited client budget, sounds like maybe you had to cut some corners, or maybe it wasn't all you had hoped it would be.
Yeah.
Maybe not. But that's where I would be careful of the investment level, because if this is something that will probably get dropped off your portfolio the second you get to do more things that you love,
Mm-hmm.
then it maybe doesn't have that investment staying power.
Yeah. I spent a couple $100. It was a real estate photographer friend of mine on that first like photo shoot. It was like
Yeah.
a single bathroom project where I was like, I actually got to pick all the stuff in here. Before that, I had helped with like some decorating and furnishing stuff, and I didn't want pictures of those. No offense to my friends and friends of friends who might hear this one day and hear it, but some of them just didn't, they weren't complete projects. And I didn't get to have enough say
You
to
couldn't
create a
take
vision.
credit. Like you couldn't take
Yeah.
credit for the whole thing.
And
Yeah.
it didn't feel like and again, I didn't want to do more just like those, even though I was happy to do those for those clients. I didn't want to advertise those to someone else. Like Coca-Cola's not going to start doing birthday cakes. Like I'm sticking in the thing I want to do. So I didn't put that out there. And I spent like a couple $100 with a real estate photographer friend of mine. And I bought some accessories and then returned them all. My husband was my assistant for the day. Like, it didn't even take that long. It was a bathroom. We got some pictures. It was a low investment. And
Got
yeah,
you started. I would
Yeah.
say yes, definitely take photos if you completed
If you
the
liked it.
room or the project.
Yeah.
And
Get the
if you
best.
have 0 on your portfolio, then yeah, take the best photos you can.
Yeah.
And just know that you may replace them, and that's okay.
Yeah.
My same thing. My first photo shoot that I didn't do myself was a photographer friend who did more lifestyle photography. And yeah, I probably paid her a few hundred, maybe $500. And it was fine. It definitely served me for a couple years.
Yeah.
And then as my projects got a little bit bigger, better, or more aligned with what I wanted more of, then I've invested more.
Yeah. I've not my first photo shoot, because that was that like bathroom one. But then like where I knew I was getting much more serious was I went overboard. And this was like my first professional one where I like spent, I don't know, I forget what I spent on that whole day shoot with a photographer, but it was a professional interiors photographer who had shot other designers. And it was most of a home, like, but I will say I way overdid it. Like I had to style in a lot of stuff because I didn't do any furnishings really. So like the client had some stuff that I consulted on that looked okay, other stuff that I had to layer in, and I had rugs between like a Target and an IKEA stuff and like just some of everything, unfortunately.
Oh, I'm
And
still doing that. So like you got to make it work if you didn't get the client to
And-
finish every
but
part
like
of it.
the looking back on it for me is also being able to look more critically at my own work. And I guarantee I could have done a comparable number of things. I could have done much less work with much less prep and setup, and probably done this in like a half a day shoot if I had been more critical looking at, is this something I actually want to take pictures of? Because I worked throughout the home on finishes and materials and selections, but like I could have been much more critical about what to take pictures of. And that's something that's really hard, I think, when you're starting out, is you just think, oh, I will take pictures
I
of
need
everything.
everything.
But I really think like that shoot and then the one of my guest house project, like I don't have that many up from my guest house project, but I have a lot of pictures that aren't up because I'm like, why did I take pictures of that? Like, why was I asking the photographer to get those shots, knowing that when I look back critically, that's not a shot that's helping me sell something.
Which, in defense of photographers, which we love photographers despite some of our last episodes.
Oh God, we do love our photographers.
We do love our photographers. We totally need them. A higher end photographer will know how to edit that for you. Like they won't shoot that dumb stuff you won't use. They know what kind of will perform, or
especially
what you kind of
now.
need.
Yeah, my photographer now is like, we need to get that in. We need to get that in vertical, or like I want to get a detail of that. And I feel like now I get a lot more critical advice on that of like, hey, I can't really get a great angle of that. Do you want me to just get a few details? Like the whole room shot won't come together the way you want, or I can't get far enough out to capture that the way you're imagining. And so just invest in the best that you can on photography, knowing that you're not going to keep those projects up forever. Like Amber Lewis doesn't have all her projects up in her portfolio anymore. So you are going to clear things out over time.
No matter what your investment level is, you probably will. And I guess
Yeah.
one more like thing about the photographer, if you do invest in a better photographer, they'll make a lower budget project look better.
Yeah.
So
I know. You can really get some good advice.
Do what you can afford.
Yeah. Agreed.
But do it. Yeah, definitely do it.
Let's take a break to talk about Mo's home collection.
Mo's just released their 2024 spring and summer collection, and it includes 300 plus new intros, and they're calling it their tailored and timeless collection.
Yeah, when you go through the lookbook, there's all this like new sort of like vintage and then European and some really like classic shapes that have been updated. It's some really new stuff that is like very different.
Yeah, I got the link and I sent it to you, and I was pretty impressed and blown away. Not that I haven't always loved their stuff, but it's so unique. Hello, they're using color on their furniture fabrics, which seems to be impossible to find lately.
Yes. Yeah, their design team definitely leveled it up. There's some really cool creations that feel like elegant but inviting.
And I think that term tailored is perfect because there's some like beds with skirting on it. Just really beautiful.
Oh, yeah. The pleated skirt chairs. Oh, my God.
Yes.
So you guys are really good.
They're box pleated. Yeah, they're so cute.
Yes. So if y'all are going to be at Market, either Vegas or High Point, it's definitely worth making a stop at Mo's showrooms. They're beautiful and they've got tons of the pieces there when you get to Market.
And if you don't have an account, you can register at moshomecollection.com/HYDC. Okay, here's a good one. Install. Do I wash bedding? I've asked this question so many times.
Yes.
Yes, you have to wash it somehow.
Wash it. Take the new duvets to the dry cleaner, or like get that stuff, get it cleaned or pressed and laundered, and do not put it on someone's bed. Like if it's going to install in their house, not like a photo shoot where you get a throw blanket or something. Like if it's going to live in their house and it's theirs to keep when you're done, it needs to be, they should be able to put their face on that pillowcase at the end of the night.
Yeah, so I have washed bedding at home, which is definitely a lot more labor intensive. Mm-hmm. And it's definitely a personal thing and it feels kind of weird. When I've done it, I've used like super clean product that's like, I don't know, hygienic or whatever. That's what we use anyway, but it doesn't have like extra scents or things if people have sensitivities. And I also know some designers who have offered to do it in the client's house. Yeah. So maybe for a bigger install, like you would have time to do that with their own stuff.
Yeah, if you were going to be there for most of the day, you could wash their stuff, get it ready for them. I will even, how sometimes like pillows, like before I put the inserts, sometimes they just smell.
Yeah, they've been plastic.
I've even taken those to the dry cleaner to be like dry cleaned, depending on how the fabric care is, but just to get like not the packagey smell and they're
not so fresh feeling.
I just want it to have a zhuzh, and also like I bill that. That's like just a reimbursable expense to me. I don't mark up dry cleaning or something. So it's just, this is so your stuff could all be beautiful and ready and lovely and like comes in with the little hangers and the bag on it. So it's all protected. It doesn't have like bugs in it and stuff. I would want that for my own house. Like I wouldn't want something that's been folded in a warehouse or a storage unit for 3 months. So yeah.
No, I know, and especially depends on the fabric. Like if it's dry clean only, like obviously dry clean it and bill it to the client. But
I mean, it
depends on budget and where you're at, I guess.
The hottie finished this question with an emoji. So I know they're also like it's not a silly question. Yeah, no. You do want to know. We're washing bedding. I have brought in stuff for styled photo shoots where it's not staying there. And sometimes I will steam or press it to make it look its best. and then it gets folded back up and put back into the zippy bag back to
Yeah,
Home Goods or Target or wherever.
And in that case, I'm not changing their sheets. Like I've asked them just put on white sheets.
Yeah.
I'm not putting weird stuff on it. Yeah, like this scar right here on my arm is from me trying to iron a linen duvet.
That's still healing?
Dude, my pigment just wants to pigment. So
ethnically ambiguous side comes out when that happens.
Oh, a burn is for life.
Yeah.
So it's not.
It doesn't have to be a contact sport, but yeah.
Be careful.
Okay. Yes, be careful, y'all. All right. Do you work with someone on website strategy? Is it a good investment? I've been contacted by a company who can configure my Google Analytics, do an audit, and give me reports so I know what people visiting my website are doing, and I'm unsure if it's worth it. We mentioned it briefly before. Rewind back to the episode right before this one, episode 121 with Evan Larkin. He's talking about SEO for designers. And I think that's what most of this question is referring to is website strategy. I think it's a wise investment.
For sure. And obviously that episode wasn't out when this listener asked this question, but he goes through a full audit with Shaun on his website and it becomes pretty clear some really easy things you can do that will help.
Agreed. A lot of this, truly, honestly, this is stuff that some of it, you look back and you're like, man, I could have avoided this problem if I had set myself up. Because you and I were both talking if we just set up our typography settings correctly, if we had just set up these categories and these different levels of things in the first place, all these other pages we've created since then would have all been done correctly, which we can't go back and fix. We can go back and fix it, but we cannot go back in time and avoid that problem. So it happened. I think it's smart to catch it while your website is still working on things because the audit just gets longer the more content
the more
and
they
pages you have.
And when you had your website built, if you built it really poorly or somebody led you astray,
yes,
it'll be a lot of undoing. So definitely it's a good investment. And I would get a couple quotes to see if what they're asking you to pay is right. Because I think it is like a snake oil kind of industry.
Yeah.
There's very good people, like Evan's obviously good and legit, but there's some I get a lot of weird spam.
I get
around
weird
SEO.
DMs and people who are, and I'm like sometimes you see the stuff that they're doing and you're like, this feels kind of hacky, like a hack of this is a way to make SEO work. But I'm like, no, I want to do it the right way to get my website seen by more people. Yeah. So it's worth it.
And not all developers who design your front end will know about all these things. Even
accurate.
Even really good ones.
Yes. Even the most expensive website builders
it's a different skill.
Yeah. They can make it look and operate beautifully, but they may be missing the stuff that Google and search engines reward the most. So you should probably have some of both. You need a developer, you need someone to help you design it and make it look nice, or unless you're really savvy, you can do it. And then you need someone to double check the work because it's not the same strategy. The website design is different than website strategy.
It's like you have the contractor builder actually build your home, but if you want it to be a smart home and get all of your networks and Wi-Fi to connect with your Sonos and
you need the AV guy
alarm, it's a totally different thing.
Yeah, exactly. You need the specialists. So yeah, that's a good one to listen to. Episode 121. How do I expand my business? I'm thinking of joining a chamber of commerce in a larger city near me, but not sure how beneficial that will be. Thoughts? Expand as in more clients or bigger business? How do you interpret that when you hear that?
More clients.
I have generally felt very unenthusiastic. I've been a member of multiple chambers of commerce, and generally speaking, I think it just turns into a big
bro fest.
I was going to say a big circle jerk.
Something about sausage. That's not true anymore. I'm sure there's, especially in a bigger city. It can be
better. It can be better, but it tends to just a lot of experiences, and I think that's why they get a bad rap, is that you need to look at the demographics and the makeup of that chamber of commerce. Look at their goals really critically.
Who are their customers?
Yeah, and then I would say before you even join, most of them also have events that you can go to as a non-member, and you might pay a few bucks to go, but it would be worth you kind of scoping out the room and seeing like, are these my people? Because generally speaking, if a chamber of commerce is going to be helpful for you, it's because you are able to connect with the people who then influence other people. So if you can't connect with those people, it will not matter if you're listed in their directory or how many times you hand them your business card, because I swear a lot of times you go and everyone's just like, "Oh, that's interesting. Do you have your card? Do you have your card?" And they're like in that old school of networking where it's just like, "Can I get your card?" Like it's like Pokemon, gotta catch them all. Like, no. Like, am I wrong?
No, I mean, I've never been to one. Like anything
they're
that's
terrible.
businessy that
They're
I'm
terrible
not
usually.
usually part of. But I do think this is kind of going back to question one, but one other thing, if you want to join something, I would look at like NKBA, or we have NARI, which is a National Association of Remodelers Industry, maybe. We have a great chapter here where there's a lot of active contractors and designers who attend. And I think if you can network with people in the contracting industry would be a great way to develop a rapport, and if you can get a good partnership going,
Yeah,
then
I
you
feel
can
like you're
refer
gonna
each other.
I feel like you're more likely to get further with networking with a bigger designer who could refer to you for their smaller stuff that they don't want anymore,
Yeah.
or a contractor who would like to not have to be involved as much with this designy stuff and they would want to refer to you. Like that to me seems like it'd be a much more valuable way for you to invest your time and energy rather than a chamber of commerce.
And you're learning, even if it's just educational, you'll be learning about things in our industry and not, I don't know, SEO industry, for instance.
Agreed.
Okay. I like this one. So what are some best practices to build your sample or library? Oh, I know Rebecca has built out a dope collection with Happy Hour and Shaun with his new office space. How do you keep it fresh and stocked? How do you know what vendors to keep on hand? How do you manage it? Also, do you let your clients keep the samples you present? All the questions.
Oh, man.
Well, so this is why Claire and I created Happy Hour. It's literally a warehouse full of samples, which I know is definitely not
for everybody.
For everyone. No.
Yeah.
So, but it is nice because we can kind of do all the things, even though we're running out of space.
Right.
So how would you say? I think this goes a little bit back to like the wholesale vendor thing. To start, you got to establish your accounts first. Like, what accounts are you going to sell?
Yeah, who do you like? Because a lot of people vie for your space once you have room, unfortunately. Even when you don't have room, there's people who are like, "Oh, we'll send you samples." And it's like, I don't want them. I don't like what you do.
This
like
8-foot tower of shit. Like, no, you won't.
No, like we don't. So I would, that definitely is a good like precursor to this is what do you like? Like, does that vendor have things you like? And I'm not saying don't get stuff get some aspirational stuff, but also make sure that they have stuff that you are actually going to be able to use with the projects you're working on. Make sure there's a good balance of like, no, truly, these are what most of my clients will pick from. And I also have some beautiful aspirational stuff to grow into, but don't fill your whole library with the stuff that will always be out of budget and is like, they're great to have around, but what are you going to use?
Yeah, I agree. And I think we touched on this a little bit but it is really important to, as much as you can, establish strong relationships and buying power with, I would say, as few vendors as you can, which may be 50, but because they're always going to have holes that you'll need another vendor for, especially like fabric or wallpaper. Like you want some variety. But I would just start with a few. And then also like who has great sampling programs? Like those are the ones I tend to buy the most from.
Yeah.
Like for instance, this is a news story that Shaun hasn't heard. I've always spec'd Sherwin-Williams. I mean, I love their product, but mostly I spec them because they give me like those 8x6x9 binders of all of their products.
All the colors.
Every single color. So I have these beautiful binders, really easy to find. Like I have 3 or 4 different sizes of things that I can take with me to clients or have in my showroom.
Right.
So But Benjamin Moore, like I had nothing. I had a fan deck. Literally, I think my dad had it from the 80s. Like that's all I could get.
They're not even current anymore.
No, and or we'd have to order from Material Bank. But I like to like really dig and choose before I start ordering off that. So when we were in San Francisco a couple weeks ago, we went to the design center and they had a Benjamin Moore showroom there. So I marched myself in there. I'm like, can somebody please help us? Like
you need to help us.
We don't have a rep. And I've been trying. So anyway, our lovely rep came last week, gave us all a bunch of stuff, a lot of bells and whistles. And now we have Benjamin Moore. So I will start speccing Benjamin Moore.
So find the vendors that have easy to use programs, easy to get samples.
Schumacher is amazing with their sampling program.
Fabric makes it easy.
Yes. Kravit, it was easy, has great sampling. Pendler for fabrics. And they're pretty easy to set up for most designers. You don't get huge percentages. Some do. Yeah. Some are 50%. Some are not.
Yeah. As far as the keeping it fresh, stocked, and
I
don't know any designer who doesn't frequently have to go through and like I feel like I go through about once. I mean, it's more than that, but at least once a quarter, I'm like, nope, I'm over this. I'm not going to pull this for a project anymore. I don't like it, or it's been here long enough. It's time to cycle through. And I've had a couple interns, so it's easy to just like, hey, take this to your school's design library, and they love that shit. So.
Yeah, this is definitely Claire and my biggest issue. Last summer, we had an intern who really helped and kept things organized. This right now we don't, and we actually don't have anyone working with us right now. And Claire's definitely like a throw this shit away person. Like she does not like clutter, which I appreciate, but I don't want clutter everywhere, but I definitely am like, but I can see a place where I would use that. So I like having a lot of things like when
you want all the options.
When I'm designing, I'm pulling millions of options. So, and I'm actively pulling them with samples. Not every designer designs that way. So I don't know. It's hard. So
I don't have that figured out. With Norwalk, I do because I have to keep that up to date. Like I have to go through discontinues, pull those out, keep them because I'm selling from that and pulling from that. So that's different for our Norwalk.
It's critical if you're just like found like it happened to me last week where a client finally fell in love with a pillow. I'm like, oh God, it's discontinued.
I frequently am checking stuff now, even when I think it's good because you don't know, or it's like got a long back order. So I check stuff before I present anyway. Like I don't focus on, I think trying to keep my library updated would take longer than it takes me to search prior to a presentation. It really doesn't take me that much time to search as I'm sourcing for a project presentation as it would to go through 400 fabric samples to see which ones are discontinued. Like that takes a lot longer than you think.
Yeah. And rely on your reps. So you have your rep come in and clean you out once in a while. They will do that for you.
Yeah, my pom-pom rep just did that for me. She came through. She's like, went through all my ring sets.
Yeah.
And I bought those ring sets, but she was like, that one's gone, that one's gone. Like she knows the line better than I do.
Yeah.
So.
And some of them they can scan. And
even if you have a home-based office, they'll do this.
Like even if you have 0 things, like Fire Clay, they'll send you a box of all of their sample chips. Get on Material Bank. They have a growing collection of samples that you can order.
Yeah.
I personally, every time I have a project, I order about 50 new things. But it'll grow.
There's always more. There's always.
And it'll become a mess.
It will. I don't know how else to say. I feel like I have yet to see a designer who really has it. And this is why I would say too, if you pay attention to really large firms and commercial firms, they literally hire librarians for this sole intent and purpose because they know how annoying it is to keep track of stuff. So it can be a literal full-time job for an entire person if that's how big your company decides to get. It exists. It just doesn't need to be that way for us, I don't think. So far, you get a mess every once in a while. You go through, clean it up, and organize it. It's pretty okay.
Okay, next question.
For those who use Harvest and Studio Designer, are you time tracking in Harvest and then adding it to Studio Designer end of day, weekly for client invoicing. Currently, this person is using Studio Designer to track time and really interested in functionality of Harvest, but wants to know how people use it in tandem. I do transfer, like I get it all into Harvest and then periodically, like on my invoicing cycle, move it into a Studio Designer invoice.
But do you do like time billing for each event? Like,
Yeah.
you put a new
'Cause mine are
item in for
hourly.
each.
Yeah.
So I
'Cause
run a
mine are
report.
like categorized. Like mine is like, I have multiple categories in Harvest for what the activity was.
Yeah.
So like meetings or communications is one, and then like
I
design
guess it depends
time,
on what
like,
you're doing with that information or if you're structuring your pricing different for each thing. But I just run a report out of Harvest and then put that Harvest report 20 in Studio Designer with the amount.
You just copy paste like the whole thing.
I don't even put any information. It's just like I
So
do
what your
with like
client sees is just
Dubsado
like
or,
a number and the amount of that.
oh, I bill the client. Well, so it's
Because you have flat rate stuff that
mostly
would be
I'm
different.
not billing the client. I have one client that I bill that way, and I bill her through Harvest.
Okay,
So then I'm just transferring that payment information into Studio.
sure.
So she's probably talking about more of what you're talking about.
Yep.
So to do it right, you
To do an item.
Well, you wouldn't. I don't know. Do you have to if all of your if your pricing hourly rate is the same for each item? Couldn't you just copy and paste all the detail in and reference back
could.
to the invoice you made in Harvest?
You could. I don't. That's more of like a personal flavor kind of thing.
Yeah. What do
Like
you want to export out of Studio Designer?
Like I like how mine are. Like I like having them in the categories so I can find and get it everything. Is it bulkier? Yeah, a little bit.
It just depends
It's
for
not-
reporting what you're trying to report. Because I have a lot of satellite apps that I use for those kinds of reports. Like Acuity, if I want to run a report on how many consultations I did, I do it in Acuity.
Yeah.
In Dubsado, like all of the detail of those initial proposals are in Dubsado. It's just the payment that I transfer into Studio
Yeah.
for bookkeeping. So yeah, it is kind of personal.
Yeah, I feel like that's just how deep do you want it to get. I like always having more data and information, but I know I'm at like the far end of that spectrum for that. So
I mean, I like having it. It's just not all in one place. So
I don't do it at the end of every day, and I don't do it even weekly. I feel like it's every couple weeks. Sometimes if we're not making really fast progress through something, it's once a month I do it. So it's really not that time consuming. So yeah, I don't know that there's really like a smoother. I wish there was a way to like export a CSV file from Harvest and import a CSV like billing thing into Studio. Like,
there
you know how
may be
you
an
could get
export,
like,
but I don't know about the import.
yeah, like I would like it where you could like export like date, time, billable rate, description in like columns. I wish there was a way where you could sort of like export that data from Harvest and then into a Studio Designer like bulk upload basically, but that doesn't
Right.
exist in their invoicing. That's
There could
which
be
is
a
fine.
Zap.
Like
Could there be a Zap for that? I don't know. I haven't looked.
into Studio?
No, probably not.
No, probably not. It's more of like a Harvest could do it, but Studio doesn't have it. But I don't feel like that's an actual like, that seems like a lot to ask Studio to do. Because for Studio, if you ask them, they're going to say, why aren't you just tracking the time?
Yeah.
But I like Harvest because my billable time, I don't have to be in Studio to do it. And now that I use the Harvest desktop app, I'm billing a lot more because it's sitting in front of me all the time when I'm working. And I can click play and pause, and like it's very fast for me to track it. So I'm actually tracking more of my time because it's that available to me, but my timing is getting even more accurately detailed and my billable ratio is higher because I'm now
It's more
making
accessible,
it part of
yeah.
that. So if anything, that's worth it to me. For the little bit of lost efficiency, bringing it over to Studio, it's worth it to me to keep using Harvest. So,
and it could be something that you could get an admin to do the data entry, and then you could run the same report so you can make sure everything matched.
I've done that with my interns before too. Just had them do that. Rolling on down.
What do you do or say when a client wants to be super involved or suggests must-haves that compromise the overall design?
I emotionally give up.
Beat it. Okay, then we're moving to designer on call. And
I've had a few people who have had to say like, "Hi, what you're telling me is in like complete contradiction to what you told me you wanted to do, and I will help you accomplish your goals because I'm not going to abandon you, but I don't recommend this solution and I don't think you're going to be happy at the end." And some people agree to push forward and some people come back to the table.
I've
But
gotten over time much better at vetting those people from the beginning and making them consultation only clients. I still take them, but I'm like, oh, you're a designer on call person, and that's fine. Then I don't have any expectations. I don't care what the fuck they end up with. I'll do my best to give them professional guidance, but if it's ugly and they love it, like, what am I going to do?
Also, like, I don't obviously double check what your contracts say about this, but like mine literally allows me to give notice and say, I'm sorry, this isn't a great fit for us anymore. This isn't aligned with what we wanted to accomplish. And it's going to hurt our business because we like whether they change the scope or do, if it's not going to be for you, just say we're not the right fit. You're not married to them. You could just say we're not going to keep dating anymore and figure out how you close that out based on your contract agreements of whatever your termination clauses are. But if you really don't like it and you are not having fun, don't stay in a scenario that you don't enjoy just to get a paycheck. Like,
I know.
I mean,
it is hard
bad,
if you really do need the paycheck. It's just what level of abuse are you taking? Like if they just have a difference of opinion and you're like, okay, well, this one's not getting photographed. Then just try to like wrap them up. This is something else that I think is helpful. I don't know exactly what this project is, but purchasing minimums, it does help if they've signed on to that up front because I know what they need to buy. Like that sofa needs to not be there because you got to meet your minimum.
Yep.
And they already know that.
Yeah, I mean, part of this is emotional for me where you just start to say like, I know that some of my projects that I work on are not going to be photographed and I don't put all my hopes and dreams on them at the beginning anymore. I wait to see what happens. I start to go, like, as I've done more photo shoots, you realize, is it worth fighting with them about this thing? Because I know I can just restyle it and it'll be fine, or I can get rid of it during a shoot. Like, you also learn how to triage and go, okay, you can have that ugly side table. I'll take it out during the photo shoot.
Papa's chair is not going to make it in the shoot. We can move it out of the way so he can still have his comfort.
It's that like some of that stuff you just learn to find your limits on like it. If you're approaching it, I feel like there's a lot of these questions in the Facebook groups too, where it's like, if you're approaching this from a purist perspective of like, I'm a designer and this is my creation, it's going to make this that much more painful every time. And truly, at the end of the day, I want to do work I'm inspired by. That's beautiful. But also, I need to get paid for this because this is my living. So when I put those priorities against each other, there are going to be times where I just go, this will make me creatively and spiritually very unhappy to keep working on this and I'm going to leave. Or it's not that bad and I'm still going to get paid. So, okay.
But my expectations just are disappointed.
Yeah.
Which happens a lot. Like, I mean, it's happened to us probably most of our jobs. Like,
I think a lot of projects I make compromises.
In our part of our career, I think like between you and I, if I added up every job that I've taken and how many I have on my website, very tips.
A majority of them are not
on there.
They did stuff I don't like, or they made choices that were really misaligned. And, you know, look, we're not lawyers.
We're not Amber Lewis either.
But like, yeah, because we're not, it's not
but
like
every project we get better. Like for me, like every project that I get under my belt that is aligned with me, I feel like I'm weeding out
more and more of those future ones that aren't
stuff.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, to me, it's not like an all or nothing anymore. So like where I was thinking like, we're not lawyers. It's like, if suddenly my client as a lawyer came to me and said, I'm going to do my own legal defense, it's like, well, then why am I here? I'll just go. Like, it's kind of all or nothing. Like, well, you're either doing your own legal defense or I'm doing it. I'm not going to sit here at the table while you do your own legal defense. Like, but I feel like for designers, there is a way where we can still sit at the table if we want to and guide them through their own process. It may just be better as a consultation or as designer on call. Like, it's okay to see yourself out if hey, we thought this was going to be full service. It's actually moving towards something else. Like, go ahead
And
and
a lot of times it's like the spouse. Like I had a consult yesterday where she wanted a lot of stuff, but every time she talked about the way her husband's thinking was, he wants all the woods to match, like just stuff that he was a little bit like
neurotic.
persnickety. Yeah. I'm like, okay, well, I don't think he's going to appreciate me and some of my stuff. But I can be helpful to them for sure. So hopefully we'll do a designer on call. I can guide them through just like the big pieces. And if they want to pick a wallpaper that isn't my thing or it's boring or something, like I don't care. It'll still look nice. They'll still like it. Like I want the people to be happy in their house.
Yeah.
Okay. We got to keep moving. Okay.
Rolling on deep. What is your opinion and experience with business loans to grow your business? In order to grow, I know I need to hire more permanent employees or 1099 employees or contractors, I guess, and possibly get an office space. But those expenses scare me because my income has been inconsistent over the past 2 years.
Well, they should scare you.
That should, yeah. There's a lot of it. It's a lot.
Scary because it's scary.
It is a lot, and you're committed to it, and it's like renting an apartment. It's yours. So yeah, there's a lot of investment that goes into an office space. I would not.
Do you have so if your income's been consistent, like how will it be
if it's already been inconsistent, what's going to make it?
Yeah, how will borrowing money help it be more consistent? Maybe the ability to hire an employee would do that. I think that's something interesting to think about, and maybe it would help me. Like I am feeling the same way, and I just keep not pulling the trigger on an employee.
Yeah,
because I'm looking at how it's been. But maybe if I had one, some of those issues wouldn't be there anymore because I could keep getting new clients.
Yeah.
So
I would be reluctant to. For me, my banker brain comes out of like overextending yourself into a loan payment or like a line of credit payment or something, knowing that that's an obligation that has to be paid. And will it really, it feels a little bit weird to use credit to pay for like an office doesn't necessarily make you money. So my banker brain comes in where it's like, it could help you earn more revenue, but the asset, the office by itself is not the thing that's going to make the money for you. You're the thing, or like your projects are the things that will help you earn money. So I get a little anxious when I hear about that. I'm not anti-loan or and like getting cash like that for your business. I would just want to make sure that whatever you're getting is something that like in all realms of feasibility, you will be able to repay if things just continue exactly as they are. I wouldn't recommend.
And invest in the things that are going to grow revenue. So if an office means that you're going to put a showroom in there and you have a plan to sell furniture or whatever, that could be an idea. But if it's just so you have a cute place to do presentations, probably not.
Yeah, like looking back now, also I realized like I could have pushed the limits a little bit longer in my home office. I could have pushed it a little bit further. I almost could have been bursting at the seams a little bit more, I realized, but you don't realize till you've done it. I would just be really careful about where you put your obligations and map that out. Like, it's nice to have a space. I will not deny that. It's nice having it. It's great having it as a resource for my business. It does make my design process move faster and smoother, having a space to be able to do those things.
Mental health. Marriage.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, it's great for that. It's great to have a place for teams or industry stuff to happen. That's great too.
But yeah, just have a repayment plan that isn't going to feel super stressful.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that offhand, especially given like we don't know what's in this question. But generally speaking, I'm not anti-borrowing money to have a growth strategy. We've heard from designers who have done that to move into retail or to be able to grow. I think that it can work for you, but the strategy has to be more than just get a loan, grow and make money. That's just it's not that simple. You really do have to market it. If you get a showroom space, you have to then advertise it, market it, have people there. There's more than just borrow money, make more
But also
money.
they talked about hiring. So if this person is going to help you make more money, then I feel like that could be a good solution. That's something like I could personally consider.
Yeah, I think it's valuable to consider that because your other alternative is, oh, okay, well, once I get this next really big project, pretty much all the money I make off of it is going to pay for this person's salary, which that's fine too. A lot of designers make that leap where they say, okay, I'm going to get the best, most skilled person that I can afford. And I'm just going to like take all that money I would have made on something else and just put it into that person for a while and then watch it grow. Like,
I mean, that's like, this is an Amber Lewis Stan episode apparently, but she, in an interview I heard a long time ago, that's what she said. With her first hire, she knew she needed to really go for it, but she waited till she saved a full year's salary for that person so she could hire them full on, get a good top level person and hit the ground running with them.
Yeah.
Instead of like taking baby steps and outgrowing somebody every few months. So that's a power move.
It is.
It worked for her. It worked out.
It worked out really well for her. And the same idea kind of goes with rent is like a standard kind of business recommendation is to have like 6 months of rent ahead of you, which can take a lot of time to build. So just in fairness, I did have that when I started getting my studio, but you also have to realize how much office spaces eat in like, you're basically furnishing a little apartment for yourself. So they eat money. They eat money too.
A lot.
Yeah, a lot of money. So that's our thoughts on that.
Okay, let's go quick to the next couple. Okay, so as you've grown and learned, have you consolidated any software tools, platforms you were using before now you have found either more can be done well in a single tool or streamlined your process and have discarded some tools from your workflow?
And QuickBooks, and now I'm in Studio, which Studio is bookkeeping and that sort of design software in one. So there is a little bit of streamlining there that I grew up and out of like over. Like that's helpful.
We already talked about Harvest and Studio. We could do we could do that in Studio.
Yeah.
But it's not as detailed and
we got rid of Linktree because we literally have links pages on our websites. Like that's a thing I was paying for that I didn't really need to pay for. I
moved around. I changed around tools a lot in the beginning, especially the project management, like bookkeeping software.
Yeah.
I've done them all. Not recommended. But Studio honestly does a lot. And if you don't want to have a bunch of apps, you could. There are new design tools, non-spawn, but if anyone knows anyone in
Studio is listening, can you please sponsor us?
They just started adding these design tools, which has been really cool. And I think actually might help with my presentation proposal early phases.
Yeah.
I've started playing with it and I know they're going to keep growing it. Google Drive, I use almost exclusively where you do stuff in Canva that I don't fuck with Canva for client stuff.
Yeah, I use that now for most of my like presentation prep and stuff like that.
I guess I would just say if it's faster for you to use multiple apps because you're more comfortable in one app, then what's $7? I don't know.
Yeah, like it's totally different for me because like some people are like, oh, I stopped using CAD because I could just do stuff in SketchUp. Well, the problem for me is I don't like what SketchUp produces from 2D files that CAD does. But I like CAD. So I'm not going to ditch CAD to then just do elevations and floor plans and everything in SketchUp. But some people love it. Great.
Super fast in CAD and yeah.
And I could consolidate, but like consolidation just to consolidate doesn't make sense to me.
Or like Dubsado brought in a calendar scheduling, and we've debated this a little bit too.
Yeah.
Versus like they basically brought their own kind of version of Acuity or Calendly into their system.
They did.
But the same thing, like the Acuity, for instance, is so high powered because that's all that it does.
Yeah.
There was issues like I couldn't make it work in Dubsado. So for some people, it's fine because that's all they ever knew and they weren't trying to make it do something.
There's a lot of functionality that we get out of Acuity that we would have to give up if we moved it into our existing Dubsado. And so it wasn't worth consolidating just because. And I don't feel like I'm any more inefficient because of it, if that makes sense. It doesn't slow me down to have to switch between a program or anything like that. And over the years, like we've been able to use Zapier to move stuff, to communicate stuff between apps, which is great. So you can help automate a lot of stuff.
I know. And if you're not using any of it, then try just sticking with one thing. Like Dubsado, you don't need Dubsado, but it does help to write proposals. It makes them more beautiful. It helps with getting a lot of that early communication, kind of getting clients onboarded. And so to me, I like things to look pretty and be easily presented. So it's valuable for me, and I've used it since the very, very beginning.
Yeah.
But some people don't care. Some people just, I think, type a proposal in Word and call it a day and still make plenty of money, but they still are successful.
I know. But then they're also using like DocuSign, or they're like making their customers print it, which sometimes it's like, okay, well, that means I don't have to have Dubsado to sign proposals and contracts, but now I am making the burden on my client. Like I'm also trying to be like client experience focused of like, but what makes it easiest for them to read it, sign it, agree to it, pay for it? Like I want as much burden and obstacle to be removed from my clients as possible, because I know that keeps them happier, less frustrated, and it makes it easy for me to make my money. And that's,
or I've got to go pick some shit up. Like that just like me going to their house to pick up a check and a contract. Nope. That was the $25. Like actually negative 100 or whatever. Like,
yeah. Because then I had to go back and forth to schedule a time that I could go pick up the signed
thing and put it into my drive. Like, no. This is so kind of see how we're thinking.
You need to see how we go. This last one, have you done small commercial projects, and do you charge differently for them? Something like a salon or an office space. I haven't. I would. Putting that in the universe.
Same. Yeah, I guess I haven't either. And I kind of wonder why.
We got to manifest it more.
I know, because I think there's just a lot more fun that could possibly happen.
Do you charge differently? Claire has done them.
I don't think she charges differently for them. We're giving a third party person's answer that we don't know.
I do know that a lot of larger commercial jobs, because these are sort of like small creative commercial that we're talking about, like a salon or an office space or something like that. But I think like you should expect that in large commercial, a lot of times that's like flat rate. They want to know guaranteed how much are we spending. We don't want to overspend. We have a set amount to use for construction and improvements, and they want guaranteed not to exceed numbers. That's not uncommon on larger stuff, but small stuff, I don't see why you couldn't still make product markup revenue and fee revenue. I don't see why not, unless you come up with an agreement with them where they're going to compensate the other way. I couldn't imagine why not.
Yeah, I mean, it would just involve, depending on what the project is, getting different vendors lined up probably. Some have commercial use furniture or whatever.
Yeah.
But a lot wouldn't be. So you just kind of need to be careful. But yeah, as far as fees, I don't think I would have a different price.
But I would consider maybe a services in kind for a portion of it. I'm not going to work for free for all of it, but honestly,
it's definitely a negotiation tool.
It would be hey, will you in trade, if it's like a service that you like that they offer, if you're going to get free coffee for 3 years, load up the gift card then. In my
past life, I owned a marketing graphic design agency, co-owned, and we had trades in our very early years. We had trade accounts set up with a lot of our clients because they were our hair salon, where I already went. Where else do we have? Maybe a coffee place. I mean, our hair salon, I did not pay for a haircut for years, but it gets kind of tricky, and there like some value judgment starts getting passed, and so you got to be careful. I think
freeloading. Yeah, I would like it if it was like, it's sort of like contests where they say like you'll get a free year's supply of makeup, and they say a free year's supply of makeup is $5,000 worth of makeup. Like they tell you this is what we're calling that. I would probably want the same of like, I get my hair cut once a month and I want 2 years of free cuts. Okay, 24 cuts is what you get. And it's either on account or like on a gift card. I don't care, but like,
But you got to be careful.
make it definite. Like
if they go out of business or something, then you're screwed.
Yeah.
So I would do like a cap of no more than a certain amount that you think you'll actually use relatively quickly, especially if it's a new business.
Yeah, get paid. Get paid.
Like a med
babies.
spa, like, yeah, you could do that up.
Get all your lasers. Get all the Botox.
Get it
facials.
all.
I would get all of it.
But also get it in a contract. Do not. It's
Yeah,
not
you
a handshake deal.
Yeah, make sure, and then still make sure you're like, well, I'm open to that idea, but I would also need to be compensated in cash payment. Like you would still also have to pay me something because you can't just do it for free for like free tacos. That's just not how it's going to work. Like, so yeah.
And maybe get
options.
it, if you can, get it on a gift card up front so that somebody, if it changed ownership or something, I don't know. I've seen it all. So
yeah,
think about all those.
Yeah.
What ifs.
But I would totally think, I see how you could really help a business. Just make sure you're, you want to know enough about codes and requirements and work with a great contractor who understands it, because you don't want to have there be any professional liability of you missing out on a certain requirement that they need to meet. Just CYA, good contractor, permits,
codes,
know the building codes, or an architect or someone who knows it. Pick the right materials. Like, don't put the flammable stuff in places where it's not supposed to be flammable. If you feel like you know that.
The electrical is very different and specific.
It is, yeah. So if you just know there's some risks to that and you want to have your professional liability insurance or your errors and omissions insurance and stuff set up so that way you can do that. That's all. It's not that different that you couldn't make some light forays into paint materials, some furnishings, things like that. But yeah.
No, I think it'd be super fun.
Man.
Okay, wow.
Gave you guys a jam-packed. Thank you so much for all of your questions and submitting everything to us, hotties.
Okay, hopefully that was helpful, and hit us up in DMs. Thanks, hotties.
Until next time.
Stay hot, designers.
Thanks for listening to the Hot Young Designers Club podcast.
For more on what we talked about today, check out the show notes.
Your support helps us grow, so share with your design besties.
And subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts.
Our conversations continue on Instagram.
And be sure to download our monthly resources on our website and our Patreon.